Ponytails. Read by Scribbler. Foxtrot, Uniform, Charlie, Kilo, by a Hoof-ful of dust. How Big Macintosh wished he was taking Applejack's delivery route instead. Although a fire swamp was dangerous and hostile, a pony could wear a set of burn-resistant hoof boots to protect themselves, or develop a kind of sixth sense for when flames were about to erupt out of the ground after many, many delivery runs. Even if said fire swamp was home to a chimera that had acquired a taste for pony meat somewhere, a pony could either outwit, outrun, or, if the pony in question were physically capable enough, outmatch the tri-headed beast. The fire swamp, for all its perils, was predictable. Big Macintosh's route took him through town and, just as it left, past Lyra and Bonbon's house. And if there was one thing Lyra Heartstrings was not, it was predictable. Lyra was outside, leaning over a fence post when Big Macintosh passed their house. She made a deliberate effort to catch his eye.
Hey-ho! Big Macintosh! What's up with you?
She aimed both forehooves at him in an odd pointing gesture.
How's it hanging? How's it swinging? How's it... hey, you got a sec?
She rapidly changed tone when she noticed Big Mac was about to walk right by her. He slowed to a stop and gazed at the unicorn. Whatever time he lost here, he could make up somewhere later on his journey.
Okay, cool,
Lyra said, and then took a surreptitious glance over both shoulders, as if she was afraid of some pony eavesdropping on this transaction.
Listen, Chief, you got a special sun pony?
Big Mac shook his head. After that weird business with Miss Cheerilee, and that even weirder business with that doll, he had taken pains to avoid any situations that might not leave him with full control of his senses, and that included the mayors of Ponyville.
All right, right on.
Lyra nodded her head.
It's okay. Just hear me out on this. Just, let me get to the end before you interrupt me.
She gave a chuckle, like she had made a private joke. Mac expected she may have, and it may have been at his expense. He narrowed his eyes a little, signalling her to hurry up with whatever it was she wanted to say.
Okay,
Lyra continued, waving a dismissive hoof in his general direction.
So, Bonbon has a birthday coming up, right? And she's sort of been dropping all these hints that she'd like to, get with a stallion.
Lyra reached over the fence and tapped Big Mac on the shoulder.
You know what I mean, eh? She'd, like her field cloud, if you get my drift. She's interested in riding the six-legged horse. She'd be doing some magic with some pony's other horn. She's down for some old in and out is what I'm saying. She wants you-know-what to be put you-know-where. We on the same wavelength? You feel me, brother?
They had been on the same wavelength since the first euphemism. Big Mac's expression remained unchanged, but he tilted his head marginally to the side to indicate for Lyra to go on.
Alright, so, and this would be totally casual, one shot, no strings attached kind of deal. So I'm trying to arrange some unattached and available stallion to just sort of swing by and bang her like a barn door in a summer hurricane.
Lyra raised her eyebrows.
So, what do you say? Are you in?
Leaving aside the fact that any farmer worth their salt would secure any loose barn doors prior to a hurricane, summer or otherwise, Big Mac raised a curious eyebrow at Lyra's request. He didn't spend the most time in Ponyville, so he often was among the last to know of any major town gossip. But he was pretty sure Lyra and Bonbon's living arrangement hadn't changed since the last time he had seen them at the marketplace together buying tulips.
No! We're totally still together,
Lyra said.
We're solid, like a rock, made of metal. And, don't you be worrying none. I'm totally leaving her satisfied. in the bedroom department.
She nudged his shoulder again.
No complaints on that end, eh? You know what I mean? When Lyra Heartstrings gets down to business, she takes care of business, you dig?
She threw up her hooves in a gesture of confusion.
I don't know, has had this thing about dongs recently.
A grin spread across her face.
Dongs.
Big Mac's forehead developed a slight crinkle and his mouth a slight downward turn at one side. This was starting to sound mighty sketchy.
No, it'll be totally cool, trust me. I don't have to be there at all if you don't want. Or I can be, if that's your thing. Like, we could start to get down and you can join in when...
That was just about Big Macintosh's limit for Lyra that day. He started to walk on. Lyra kept pace with him behind the fence, frantically ratcheting up her sales pitch.
Toys!
She exclaimed.
We got a bunch of toys that do all kinds of freaky stuff. Like a whole box almost. I mean, most of them wouldn't really apply to you, though. Or, I don't know, that sort of depends on how open-minded you are about some stuff.
She sighed and pleaded with her eyes.
Come on, please!
Big Macintosh's answer was simple and final.
Darn it!
Lyra said to announce her presence as she went back inside the house.
Why were you out there bothering Macintosh?
Bonbon asked, not looking up from her taffy mixture.
Oh, you know.
Lyra hovered at the kitchen door.
I'm sure I don't.
You know, that old bowls thing.
I'm not sure how he's going to help with that, dear.
Well, Bonnie, I know you don't have, a whole lot of experience in this field, but when a mare and a stallion love each other very much...
Bonbon paused in kneading her taffy, letting the sticky substance drip between her hooves. She looked over her shoulder at Lyra.
What are you talking about?
I was asking Big Mac if he would knock you up.
What?
Since you said that thing about having foals together.
What?
He said no, though.
What?
Bonbon's temper had escalated rapidly from neutral into high gear faster than Lyra could ever remember. Her face had become almost as red as the taffy pooling in a heap on the kitchen counter.
Lyra!
She shouted.
When I said we should get some help from some pony, I meant Twilight Sparkle!
What?
Because she knows every spell ever, and probably knows one so we can have a foal together.
Oh.
Lyra's face went slack.
Have you,
Bonbon asked with narrowed eyes,
been asking random stallions off the street to come and have sex with me?
No, maybe. Not in so many words. Not,
Lyra looked at the kitchen floor.
Not many.
How many is not many?
Well, Big Mac, Caramel, Time Turner, Pokey Pierce, I think that's all. No, wait, Noteworthy, and, Davenport.
Lyra, that's like half the stallions in Ponyville!
Bonbon freed her hooves from the taffy and used them to bury her face.
Ugh! You know I have to live here, right?
I'm sorry, I really thought that you meant that. I'm sorry.
Lyra put a comforting hoof on Bonbon's shoulder.
They all said they weren't into it. Well, I think Time Turner might have been. But then his girlfriend showed up and he changed his tune right after that.
I don't know if that makes me feel any better, you know.
How about we go see Twilight tomorrow? Together.
Bonbon nuzzled Lyra's cheek softly, then gave her a look. This wasn't the most boneheaded thing Lyra had ever done, not by far. It somehow wasn't even the most embarrassing. She just had a knack for putting her hoof in her mouth, repeatedly. Lyra sometimes didn't know why it was Bonbon kept putting up with her, but she was glad that she did.
Maybe,
Bonbon said at last.
I'm sure Twilight has a spell that'll give me a wang.
That's not what I meant! I thought it would be like a magical donor thing, where...
She paused. Lyra noted the faint red coloration that had crept across her cheeks, and this time it had nothing to do with anger.
there's a spell that can do that?
Lyra smirked.
Probably. Like, Twilight probably knows all sorts of spells that can do all sorts of wild stuff.
She lowered her voice and drew out her words.
I mean, some of them might not even be so hard to learn. She could probably teach one or two of them to me.
Bonbon said nothing, the blush on her face intensifying.
But,
Lyra continued.
we should probably just ask the boring save spell that takes a bit of me and magically mixes in with a little bit of you to make a...
No.
Bonbon said in a small voice.
We could, ask about the other stuff, too.
If you want.
Bonbon pressed herself up against Lyra, any momentary anger forgotten.
Just, honey, one thing.
Yeah?
Don't say Wang in front of the princess.
That was Foxtrot, Uniform, Charlie, Kilo. It was written by a Hoof-ful of dust and read by Scribbler with special guest voice actors Emogak as the voice of Lyra and Katebug as the voice of Bonbon. Okay, thank you very much for listening. This is the second of a pair of smaller fictions that I'm putting out this weekend as a sort of... I'm back from my long absence. If you listen to the end blurb of Wonderful, the other fanfiction that I've put out this week, you will be able to hear my embarrassing rendition of thanks and the reasons why I've been absent. So I will redirect you over there to go and listen to me babble. Instead, I'm going to talk about this fiction, because this fiction today, Foxtrot, is not the kind I would usually read. Yes. I've read a Hoof-ful of Dust's stuff before, and this is definitely different than the one I read last time. It's different than quite a lot of things I've ever read. I have said before now I am never ever going to read Clop. I stand by that. This is my limit. This is as far as I'm gonna go. And this one sailed pretty close to the wind, which is why I'm putting this one on sort of mature lock, and why I'm putting out a second fiction this week, because I know this kind of comedy, this kind of saucy comedy, is not everybody's cup of tea. So, thank you very much for listening. I hope you enjoyed it. Definitely Emogak and Katebug. They did really well with this material, so round of applause for them. And in other news, I also put out a trailer yesterday, which was for the Lost Narrators reading of Truth Be Told, which is a fanfiction I wrote for Halloween last year, which she is putting out as a fic reading this year, and it's a full cast fic reading that she held auditions for back in May. And I've seen some of the artwork that's going into this project, because it's not just a regular fic reading. She's having custom-made artwork and music and all sorts of different things. And the cast of this thing, she showed me the list, and I sort of boggled at it a bit. It's like... I Am Shadow 007 is playing Pinkie Pie, and I've heard her lines, and oh my god, they're amazing. Mary Medley as Fluttershy, Princess Rill as Twilight, Warrior Cat Cloudtail 5 as Rainbow Dash. Emogak, whom you've heard here as Lyra, is playing Mrs. Cake. Anna Chloe M is Rarity, and Glory of the Rainwings is Applejack. Plus, there's Present Perfect is involved in this, Flame Lionheart, there's dozens upon dozens of other names as well. I'm trying desperately to sum them to my head without having the cast list in front of me, but it's going to be something special, and I am still mind blown that my fanfiction is the one that she chose to do this to. So yes, this Friday on the Lost Narrators channel, go and listen to it. I know Super Smash Bros. Is coming out the same day. I have been told this by somebody in the comments. But go and listen to the fiction anyway. I'm totally not biased in that. Be lovely to each other, and good night, everybody.